Good evening. We begin with breaking news tonight. Brockville police say a teen has been taken into custody on suspicion of a triple murder. Here's what we know so far. 3 bodies were found in a home on Brockville's Cartier Court. That was at 11:30 this morning when someone called 911. Officers say they felt something was off based on the evidence at the scene. Upon further investigation, they received information that brought them to an address on the outskirts of the city. Police additionally saying this in a news release. A 17-year-old Brockville youth believed to be connected to this incident was located at that address and taken into custody for 3 counts of first-degree murder and assaulting a police officer. Anyone with related information is being asked to contact Brockville Police. Anonymous tips can be made to Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. The accused cannot be identified because of their age, but police confirm this is not a random incident. The accused and victims were known to each other. We have extended coverage of this breaking news story online. Go to our website, ctvnewsottawa.ca. In other news, a raging inferno was caught on video after a tanker truck carrying jet fuel went up in flames. It happened on Highway 17 near Whitewater Road, close to Pembroke last night. CTV's Dyson has more on that and the highway that was shut down well into today.
Jet fuel feeds the flames that engulf this tanker truck on the side of Highway 17.
The truck itself was just a case of containing it and just so that nothing would spread anymore.
The truck was heading to CFB Petawawa Wednesday evening when a suspected mechanical failure ignited a fire in the truck's cab.
It was too far gone within minutes, and I mean minutes. Like our response time was probably 3 to 4 minutes, maybe 5 at the late most. And I mean, it was already fully, like, it was just too much heat coming out of it. I mean, we can put water on it, but you can put water on jet fuel all day.
The driver of the truck managed to get out safely before the fire took off. Video taken by witnesses show flames then spreading to the nearby hillside.
It was a big ball of fire, but it had vented, which was the main thing. Actually, what was happening is that, I mean, obviously, you're not going to stop that from burning. But it started to go into the bush beside it, and then that was our first main thing, is get that put out.
Officials say there was no risk of the tanker exploding. Fire crews decided against using a chemical suppressant brought in by trucks from Garrison Petawawa due to environmental concerns. In a statement, CFB Petawawa says the Ontario Spills Action Centre is currently assessing the site, and the vehicle will undergo an investigation to determine the cause of the fire. The Department of National Defence will be responsible for the remediation of the site. The fire burned until 7 a.m. Thursday morning, the flames raging for almost 11 hours.
You just basically surround it and let it burn and make sure it doesn't go anywhere. There was no life or limb to worry about, so, I mean, and you weren't going to save the truck.
Dyson, CTV News, Pembroke.
Gatineau police have identified the 2 people who died in a murder-suicide in an apartment building yesterday morning. Police say a 34-year-old man killed his 30-year-old partner before taking his own life. The woman has been identified as Shannon Jean Hickey and the man as Tien Quan Vu. Police were initially called to the building on Rue Laurier for a wellness check. When they arrived, they saw a fire in a 4th-floor unit. The couple was pronounced dead at the scene. Turning to the latest on the deadly hantavirus outbreak and the fact that 2 Canadians who were on board that ship are now isolating here in Ontario. But our colleagues have reason to believe not in Toronto. Here's CTV's Siobhan Morris.
2 people somewhere in Ontario are in isolation. They may have been exposed to hantavirus on a cruise gone terribly wrong. Now public health is watching over them.
At this point, it is believed that they are not in any way a risk of transmission, but it is fluid.
The Ministry of Health isn't saying where in the province these people are, exactly how they got to where they're isolating, but we know they're not staying in Toronto.
I unfortunately can't provide any additional information on those 2 individuals. That is news information to us as well. What I can say is that this is the day-to-day work of public health.
Tracing their contacts and routes of travel, checking up on them.
Monitoring for signs and symptoms of infection, and if people do develop such symptoms, then getting medical care. We don't have a prophylaxis for this. We don't have a dedicated antiviral.
While we have seen hantavirus move from human to human, experts say it isn't in passing. We're talking close and prolonged contact.
It's not easily transmitted. This is not something to be terrified of.
What does get complicated is that it can take several weeks for symptoms to show up. So for Ontarians under watch,
the incubation and monitoring period will likely be in the 30-day period.
Ontario hasn't had a hantavirus case in a decade.
Most cases in Canada typically occur in some other provinces, in BC, Manitoba, and Quebec. But even then, we've only had 109 cases since 1989.
Experts don't see this as a global risk or even a regional one so far.
Let's obviously stay humble and not pretend that we know everything about this virus. But on the same hand, we're not going to ignore 30 years of data that we have and prior outbreaks that have been quelled with pretty straightforward public health interventions.
Siobhan Morris, CTV News, Toronto.
It's time now to have our first look at the forecast. Here's Jackie Perez.
Well, we're taking a look at the skies right now. Again, fairly clear skies, a little bit of some cloud cover. This will continue into our early morning. So we may see a little bit of that sunshine moving through for most of the day. But by the afternoon, there could be sprinkles of light showers moving through, especially around Pembroke and Renfrew. There is a chance that we could see some quick rain moving in quite heavily. But at least for here in Ottawa, we might see that closer to the 4 or 5 o'clock hour. Again, very light, won't last very long. It is going to be a cool day, though, 4 degrees to kick things off. We're only getting to a daytime high of about 12 degrees. So if you are out and about, you definitely want to layer up and bring that light jacket.
Thank you, Jackie. The largest gathering of Conservatives in Canada is underway. Party leader Pierre Poilievre urged the crowd in Ottawa to never give up because so much is at stake.
Some people believe that we should stop fighting, join the club, be content with the way things are. That certainly would be easier, my friends. But easy street leads to a dead end, and the hardest roads lead to the best destinations. Our destination as a country, the country that we knew and still love, a country where the people are back in charge of their lives, because this country and its people are worth fighting for. I keep fighting, and I hope you will too. Merci beaucoup.
Poilievre says Ottawa is full of entrenched special interest groups defending the status quo and insists Conservatives need to keep winning debates in opposition. Alberta's Premier and the U.S. Ambassador to Canada will speak tomorrow at the Canada Strong and Free Network Conference. Developing news tonight on the federal government's return to office plan. Another department now says it will be delaying the new mandate. Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada says employees will be able to continue working 3 days a week this summer as opposed to 4. This comes as the Department of National Defense also says workspace will be limited. Most federal public servants will be required to work in the office 4 days a week starting in July. Global Affairs has also delayed the return to office mandate due to lack of office space. Meanwhile, there are new details on how many public servants are applying for the early retirement package. The federal government says around 6,000 employees have applied to retire early. In December, around 68,000 public servants were sent letters informing them they could be eligible for the program, which is part of the government's plan to reduce the size of the public service. Sticking with the federal government, Canada's privacy watchdog says since 2020, there have been more than 42,000 breaches at the Canada Revenue Agency, leading to unauthorized access to taxpayer information. In a report released to Parliament, the Privacy Commissioner says there are gaps in prevention, detection, and handling of data breaches. The CRA says in some cases, attackers use stolen data to gain access to taxpayers' accounts. Parents at one Ottawa school are calling for action after learning elevated levels of lead were found in their children's drinking water. CTV's Katelyn Wilson has details.
It's a very big problem. Yeah, it's a very big problem.
It's a problem hidden in plain sight. For years, Barbara Daniela Gandolfo and Garrett Hansen thought the water at their children's school was safe until they saw the test results.
It is every parent's worst nightmare to discover that their child may have been exposed to dangerous amounts of lead in the water.
A report by the Canadian Environmental Law Association found Fallingbrook Community Elementary School in Orleans had some of the highest lead test results in Ontario, including one test, 30 times the provincial limit of 10 parts per billion, double the federal guideline.
We know that no amount of lead is safe, especially because children are so susceptible to the health impacts of lead.
The report also found the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board failed more lead tests than any other board in the province. In a statement, the board says fixtures that exceed the provincial standard are taken out of service, adding some testing occurred during the summer months when water consumption is reduced, which it believes contributed to elevated failures.
We take this very seriously, and we ensure that the water is, if they can't drink from the taps, that the school boards ensure that there are other ways that the kids can get water to them.
But for parents, the question is why Ontario still allows more lead in school drinking water than Health Canada recommends.
What we're talking about is ongoing exposures, and at a population level, that could lead to a large number of children losing 1 or 2 IQ points.
Lead has also been linked to learning disabilities and ADHD. The Environment Minister did not respond to a request for an interview, but in a written response obtained by CTV News, the province says Ontario has one of the most comprehensive testing and mitigation strategies in the country. But experts disagree, saying the province's approach of relying on flushing the system is a temporary Band-Aid, not a permanent fix.
It can build up again within 30 minutes. It's just not a solution. And that's been shown time and again.
Parents at Fallingbrook have now launched a petition urging the province to adopt Health Canada's lead standards and install filters where necessary. In the meantime, some are sending their children to school with water from home, saying temporary fixes are not enough.
We can't just say, oh, it's good enough, we've done the minimum. We are part of Canada. We should have the same regulation on water quality as the rest of Canada.
Katelyn Wilson, CTV News.
This is, I think, should be within Canada a friendly competition. So don't go there with this big if.
Coming up, the battle to become Canada's NATO-backed defense bank. Ottawa is in the running with several other major cities, but figurative shots are being fired at one city in particular. We'll explain after this.
You're watching CTV News at 11:30 with Stefan Keys.
Here's another live look through our Centennial Glass Sky Cam. The temperature right now, 6 degrees. And it's time for a closer look at the forecast. Here's Jackie.
Well, a reminder that we do have a frost advisory in effect for parts of Eastern Ontario, including here in Ottawa, where we're going to see overnight temperatures in and around the freezing mark. So here about 1 degree, cloudy skies, calmer winds than what we have seen for earlier today, as well as the last several days. Tomorrow, daytime high only getting to 12 degrees here. Chance of showers will likely move through the early part of the afternoon, but it shouldn't linger for very long. But you may want to bring a little bit of the cover as well, so you don't want to get too wet here. Tonight's lows across Eastern Ontario. Again, a reminder that a frost advisory in effect for most of the region. Kingston, Brockville, Cornwall sitting around 1 degree, -1 in Pembroke. We've got -4 in Bancroft. There is about a chance of showers for parts of the region as well, but we will likely again see this closer to tomorrow afternoon. Now, as for our daytime highs, about 12, 13 degrees, really for much of Eastern Ontario. Around this time of year, we should be hovering closer to about 20 degrees, so we are still sitting below the seasonal temperatures for this time of year. A closer look at our long-term around Saturday, we could see 7 in the morning. We are mainly cloudy skies here. Might see a little bit of weather activity coming from the west here, but it might likely not hit here until Sunday morning. So keeping a close eye on this Saturday, best day to check out the Tulip Festival. 16 degrees Sunday. We are likely going to see a chance of showers in the early part. 14 degrees, though, is the anticipated daytime high. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, this is what I'm eyeing because that's where we'll likely see the warming temperatures trending closer to 20 degrees.
Thank you, Jackie. Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver are all vying to be the home of the new Defence Security and Resilience Bank, and Quebec politicians are accusing one of the competing cities of using scare tactics. CTV's Olivia O'Malley explains.
Toronto is being accused of fear-mongering in the bid to be the headquarters of the future Defence, Security and Resilience Bank. According to La Presse, the city is using the referendum issue to undermine Montreal's candidacy.
I think that fear is the only weapon they have, and they will use it as much as they can.
if the PQ wins the fall election, they've promised to hold a referendum on Quebec's sovereignty. La Presse says this is something Ontario has mentioned to federal officials who are responsible for choosing the host city.
We must put aside this fear campaign, these fear tactics, and the federal government ought to decide by the merits of each city.
Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, and Vancouver are all being considered. While Liberal House Leader Marc Tanguay says he doesn't agree with fear tactics, it's not inaccurate to say a potential referendum could lead to economic instability.
This is, I think, should be within Canada a friendly competition. So don't go there with this big if.
The multinational bank will provide long-term, low-cost financing for defense projects by NATO members and allies. It's expected to create 3,500 jobs, making it extremely sought over. Premier Christine Fréchette avoided denouncing Ontario's tactics. Instead, she highlighted Montreal's expertise in fields like aerospace, AI, and cybersecurity, saying it has everything it needs to host the bank.
Montréal a tout ce qu'il faut pour accueillir cette banque.
Fréchette says she reminded Prime Minister Mark Carney of the importance of considering Montreal for its expertise and experience at their joint announcement Wednesday in Mirabel. Montreal Mayor Soraya Martinez-Ferrada says the city will base its campaign for the defense bank on facts, not fear, leaving that tactic to Toronto. Olivia O'Malley, CTV News, Quebec City.
I will say there's no stopping anymore at the stop sign up ahead, which I assume is linked to the speeding.
Still to come, safety advocates driving home the message to slow down. New info shows drivers may be taking advantage of absent speed cameras. City of Ottawa numbers suggest the majority of drivers are going an average of 8 to 10 kilometers above the speed limit in neighborhoods where cameras were removed in November. And as CTV's Kimberly Fowler reports, safety advocates say that is putting people at risk.
You can always see speeders going by.
Scott McLarens lives near Katimovik Road in Canada, where a speed camera used to nab drivers. Since it went dark, he says the change has been noticeable.
It's always been bad along here. I will say there's no stopping anymore at the stop sign up ahead, which I assume is linked to the speeding.
New data from the City of Ottawa supports that. It shows speeds are increasing in many areas that used to have cameras. Since the province banned them in November, the average speed increased 8 to 10 kilometers per hour at 7 of the 8 former photo radar locations in school zones. This is where one of the speed cameras was installed on Katimovik Road. All that remains is this pole. In October of 2025, the average speed clocked at this camera was 35 kilometers an hour. That jumped to 43 in April of this year.
A car going 40 kilometers an hour actually takes up to the lengths of 2 tennis courts to slow down. So it's not like you can stop on a dime.
Police also say that increase in speed could be the difference between a close call and a deadly crash.
Difference between 5 to 10 kilometers per hour can truly mean the difference to saving your life or saving the life of another driver.
The Ford government argued the cameras were a cash grab and shifted focus to other traffic calming measures like speed bumps and large signs.
Simply putting speed bumps in is not possible on 4-lane roads. Only being punitive will actually get people to slow down in front of the schools.
Residents like McLaren's also feel alternative measures won't make a difference.
Seems kind of like a waste. I don't see any further benefit to it. There's no revenue gain from that.
Kimberly Fowler, CTV News.
Ottawa drivers will find some relief at the pumps this week with gas price set to drop over the next couple of days. Prices dropped 5 cents a litre this morning to an average of 190.5 cents a litre for a litre of regular. But Canadians for Affordable Energy President Dan McTagg says prices will drop another 7 cents tomorrow to 183.9 cents a litre.
Taylor Swift, the solar eclipse, all of that I think helps inform our ridership projections, which is really useful.
Coming up, FIFA World Cup is fast approaching and Toronto is concerned about the amount of foot traffic. More about that right after this. Welcome back. One of the biggest concerns for World Cup host cities, Toronto and Vancouver, is how to manage all that human traffic. Today, Toronto officials laid out their plan for public transit. CTV's Heather Wright has more.
A frequent contender for worst traffic in North America, the World Cup will put Toronto transit to the test in ways the city has never seen. On June 12th, Canada opens its tournament against Bosnia and Herzegovina. The Blue Jays will host the Yankees at Rogers Centre, and fans of both will pack downtown.
The city will be busy, but I think Toronto's busy. That's what comes with a big city.
Today, the heads of Metrolinx and the Toronto Transit Commission outlined some of the preparations underway as the city gets set for kickoff. They estimate they will see a surge of 44,000 additional transit riders on match days, adding more trains and buses to help accommodate the increase. They say there will not be a repeat of Game 7 of last fall's World Series, when service was not adequately extended, leaving thousands of fans stranded in the downtown core.
Having had that experience, Taylor Swift, the solar eclipse, all of that I think helps inform our ridership projections, which is really useful because it means that I think we're probably more accurate in understanding how people want to move through the region in a big event like this.
Canada is hosting this year's World Cup along with the United States and Mexico. 6 matches will be played in Toronto, 7 in Vancouver. Much of the action in Toronto will be in and around BMO Field, called Toronto Stadium, during the tournament. It's an area that sees big events regularly, and experts say it's vital to get transit right for both the people who live here and those visiting, many of whom will be getting a first impression of the city and country.
What you ideally want is for the transportation to be an afterthought, that it works, that it's seamless, that you don't have to think too hard about it, and that it just shows up and functions.
A big test for organizers and for this stadium comes on Saturday when Toronto FC hosts Inter Miami and soccer star Lionel Messi. It is the final event before FIFA takes control of this stadium on May 12th. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
25 students graduated from the Ottawa Mission's Food Services Training Program.
It's changed my whole life, to be honest.
The program teaches the skills necessary to work in a commercial kitchen and gives students a chance to take on a new career. According to the mission, more than 90% of its graduates have found employment in the service industry since it began more than 20 years ago. Rent prices continue to slowly decline here in Ottawa. According to a new report from Urban Nation and Rentals.ca, the average rent for an apartment in Ottawa was $2,151 in April. The average cost to rent a one-bedroom was $1,945, down $10 from March. The average cost of a two-bedroom was $2,472, down $17 from March. Ottawa has seen the largest decrease in two-bedroom rents in Canada over the past year.
It's our 50th anniversary year, and we decided to kick it off with a beautiful bouquet of flowers.
Coming up, a new event is in full bloom at Saunders Farm. Stay with us. Here's another live look through our Centennial Glass Sky Cam. The temperature holding steady at 6 degrees for now. And with a final check on the weather forecast, here's Jackie.
Well, we will see a cooler start to tomorrow morning, 4 degrees to kick things off, mainly cloudy skies, but we will still get a little bit of sunshine. It is in the afternoon, though, that we could see a little bit more cloudy skies and the chance of showers as well. 12 degrees the anticipated daytime high. Saturday, though, looking the greatest. Sunny skies, 16 degrees, and temperatures will continue in the mid-teens for a remainder of the week. It's not until early next week that we're going to start to see the warming trend closer to 19 degrees.
Thank you, Jackie. And finally for us tonight, you're being invited out to Saunders Farm this weekend for Tulip Fest.
We're so grateful for the support the community has given us over the last 50 years, and we wanted to do something to give back and to make accessible for our community. And we have always loved the Canadian Tulip Festival downtown, and we still do, but we wanted to do something in countryside version.
For us, it's a real time of celebrating connection and togetherness and joy and hope, especially after the long winter we had.
So we can confirm you don't have to be downtown to get tulips. Tulip Fest kicked off tonight, transforming a rural orchard into a large-scale tulip experience with nearly 500,000 blooms. This is a new spring festival to mark the 50th anniversary season at Saunders Farm. And while you may want to tiptoe through the tulips, you don't have to do it for fear of scaring up monsters and goblins. They're hibernating right now until Halloween, a time of year the farm is famous for in this region. That is CTV News for this Thursday, May 7th. CTV News continues online anytime with our digital team keeping you up to date at ctvnewsottawa.ca. You can also watch our newscast live on the CTV News app anytime. And for news on the go, listen to News Talk Radio 580 CFRA. For all of us here at CTV News, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow.